I think if anyone's going to take anything from this whole book review, power in these pages, I think, is the ARC.
Do you love your wife enough to love her the way that she wants to be loved on February the 14th?
Bars.
Yeah.
Bars. Great leaders are great because people trust and respect them, not because they have power.
And I wanted to big you up. So take it, be quiet, listen.
Let's have some water. Guys, so excited. It's our first Power of Pages book review in person. We're doing it here at North Kent Library. Come follow me inside.
Welcome to a very special edition of the Power of Pages. This is our first ever book review in a library. We're here in North Kensington Library. Mr. Fly hooked it up.
Yeah.
For those of you that are new to the channel, I go by Ty.
I'm Mr. Fly. What's going on?
Teething problems.
Some water. Yeah. It's all good. We can keep going.
So this month we are reviewing why motivating people doesn't work and what does. And I chose this book. It was actually recommended to me by a mentor of mine, or someone I consider a mentor of mine. And I thought it would be a good book for us to review based on the fact that we both manage people.
Yeah.
We both have businesses where we have to guide staff through different paths. So I thought it would be a good book to read based on that. And let's get into it. Firstly, what were your first thoughts?
When I saw the title, I was a bit like, the title left me kind of asking myself a lot of questions. Because I was thinking, okay, because I've got my views on motivation prior to reading this.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, let's see what it's going to say. It's obviously going to, is it going to challenge my beliefs, or is it going to build on them, or is it going to bring me a brand new perspective that I didn't have? But it took me a while to get into it, to be fair. First, it took me even a while to start reading it. But I think based on that, to be fair, I didn't start reading it till quite a bit late. But I'm happy I opened it, obviously. And,
Do you think your beliefs were challenged by the book?
You know what? Yeah, the funny thing is, the beginning of the book and the end of the book, actually, when I read the first things about the book, and it talks about people are always motivated, which is something that I believe, but you might not share those motivations, you might, whatnot. So I don't actually think people are demotivated. I think that it just outweighs each other. So you might look at someone who kind of doesn't do much of their day and stays at home and doesn't do anything. And you'll say that person's not motivated. They are motivated, but they're more motivated to do those things than something that may be more beneficial to them. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So, and then in the closing chapter, the author kind of says the same thing, like people are always motivated. So I was like, which I agree with. So, and that was okay. I said, all right, you got me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got me. I'm listening. But yeah, what was your thoughts?
I think to touch on what you just said, people are always motivated by something. Yeah. Just maybe not the thing that we want them to be motivated in, especially as business owners. Like, we might dangle a carrot stick of money, for example, but that might not be their motivation. Yeah. And there's lots that I actually took from this book. And I think I want to start by talking about the motivation model, the spectrum of motivation model. Yeah. And it talks about the two sectors. You've got the suboptimal, which is below the line. Hopefully I'll put like a picture, but it's got, the suboptimal level at the bottom and the optimal level. And where this challenged my beliefs was, I think there are some suboptimal motivation tools that I use to motivate myself. Okay, such as? So, like imposed things. So just to give the viewers some context, the suboptimal, it's got the disinterested, the external motivation, and the imposed motivation. Yeah. And in fact, external is probably what I use sometimes, because sometimes there are things that maybe I want to achieve and I use external factors, other people, to help me achieve them, which works for me. But it's not, according to this book, it's not the optimal way to motivate yourself. But it still motivates you. Yes. And then you have the optimal, which is the aligned motivation, which is, in fact, I've put it down here. You were able to link to a significant value, so you can align it with something. You've got the integrated motivation, which I think is technically the most optimal.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
So, integrated motivational outlook. This is part of my life purpose, and to be a role model for my children. Fulfilling this task is part of my life purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And then inherent.
I am enthusiastic about it. The challenge sounds fun and exciting. I enjoy trying new things.
Yes. So inherent is kind of like you just simply enjoy it. You just like to do it anyway. There are things that you just naturally do. You could be watching TV. For some people, it might be like, I just naturally love watching TV. I'm motivated to do it, so I just do it.
Yeah.
Or for some people, it might be cooking or jogging or whatever.
It is who I am. Like,
it is who you are.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite nice to have that framework and be able to understand motivation in that way.
Yeah.
Were there any stories that you liked or anything?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to what you said about like the spectrum of motivation model, and like it doesn't say. I mean, it's all motivation.
Yeah.
But obviously, the author she terms it as like junk food motivation.
Yes.
So I mean, so it's like those three, the lower level, the suboptimal ones, they're junk food. So it's like if you go on KFC every day, you're gonna fill up, but it's not the best, but it's still gonna fill you up. Same with the motivation, but I think you have to kind of dip into both, but then they always kind of align with your overall. That's what I think, because sometimes whether it's like integrated motivational outlook is the one that I kind of like. Okay, this kind of aligns with me a lot, but then you may along the way you may use other motivational models to get you on your main path. Do you know what I mean? To assist you on your main path. But there was a story like very later on in the book, because she's a speaker, right? So she's like a business coach, like so she was talking about
executive coach, leadership coach.
There you go. Well, there was a story she spoke about one where she went to a conference. Yeah. And she always told this story about Valentine's Day. Yes. So I might miss a few bits out, but so you can fill in the gaps.
Yeah, cool.
So she, this guy was complaining. I think I think if you're in a relationship, a lot of guys can maybe relate to this.
Yeah.
I mean, so
give some context. It's about Valentine's Day and how he was complaining how he didn't want to celebrate Valentine's, and he just did it because his wife loved it. Yeah. So that, according to the motivational level, is an imposed motivation. Yeah. He doesn't like Valentine's Day, but he does it anyway because he knows it makes his wife happy. Yeah, And then I think she reframed it for him, and she was like, well, again, she lined it up with his integrated motivation from what I can remember. And then it kind of dawned on him that he actually, because then he realised of the joy of bringing his wife, and his purpose was to kind of make his wife happy and X, Y, Z. So, but the funny thing is, she saw him again at another conference, and then he didn't remember, and she's been telling this story kind of like all over the world, should we say. Yeah. And then she met him and was like, oh my gosh, remember, I've been using your story, da da da. And he was like, I don't remember that conversation. Yeah. So that was quite funny. But then I think he did say, during the talk, he kind of said, oh yeah, I do remember now. Yeah. But yeah, that just kind of, what that is quickly, the whole point of that story is to see how you can reframe things, which I think is very important, framing. So it went from being like, oh, I'll just do this for her, like, I don't care about this day. And I think a lot of guys can maybe share parts of that anyway. But if you reframe it and be like, well, you want your wife to be happy, and you want seeing her happy makes you happy. Yeah. And then he kind of realised, and now I think they had a great Valentine's. So I think to add on to that, the key thing that she said, she had a motivational outlook conversation with him, which I think is quite important to remember. Motivational outlook conversation to help reframe the way that we see things. Yeah. And the key word she said to him was, do you love your wife enough to love her the way that she wants to be loved on February the 14th? Bars. Yeah. Bars. And that made him think, well, actually, I really do love my wife. Yeah. And maybe I should make more of an effort because, she loves this day, and let me align this with my motivation. Anyway, so when she saw him later at the conference, turns out he now celebrates Valentine's Day. They make a big deal of it every year. Yeah. They go traveling or whatever, and he's changed his complete mindset around Valentine's Day simply because he's reframed his motivational outlook. Before it was just a day for her. Yep. Now it's a day that he can appreciate her. He sees, actually, I really do love her. Yep. I'm going to make a good effort. And yeah, take from that what you will.
Yeah, no, there's lessons
but
there, man.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
lessons in there. I think when this book really started to get me was when it started talking about the kind of psychology of things.
Yes.
And the psychology of motivation, because that's ultimately, that's what, in my opinion anyway, and I think that's what the author kind of said, it boils down to that, regardless of, and then the optimal, suboptimal, that's kind of like a byproduct of the psychological. So she speaks about the psychological needs in the chapter 2 actually. It's called What Motivates People, the Real Story. So she calls it the rainbow arc. You got autonomy, relatedness, and competence.
Yeah. So ARC
yeah.
is the what's it called?
It's the rainbow arc.
No, the ARC. The word, I lost the word for it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Acronym.
Acronym.
Yeah, acronym. Sorry, yeah. So she says, I mean, it's not that long. I'll maybe bring it up later what it actually says, or maybe you could read the book. But the rainbow arc, and then when a person experiences low quality psychological needs, he or she will have a suboptimal motivational outlook. But on the flip side, if a person experiences high quality psychological needs, that's their ARC, he or she will have an optimal motivational outlook. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I think we'll have to come and dive into the ARC.
Yeah.
Because, that really helps us understand the optimal motivational level.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know if you want to just touch on the A of the ARC.
Sure. So the first psychological need, autonomy. Our human need to perceive we have choices. It's our need to feel that we are doing things on our own volition, of our own volition. So
yes,
that's autonomy, you know. And you know what was a really good part in the book where it speaks about, because someone might try and argue that, but a very way to dispel that argument is, even a child, when you give a child the food, the child will grab the spoon from your hand or something like that, a baby. Do you know what I mean? And that's the baby, that's autonomy. So
they want to do it themselves.
They want to do it themselves. Do you know what I mean? Even though they can't, but they grab it, and there's a lot of examples you could give. But so that's our psychological need to be, you know, you want to feel like you're in charge. Do you see what I mean? So you can talk about that.
And relatedness, and it's our human need to care about others and to be cared for. And actually, I wanted to stop on this point, and I wanted to big you up. So take it, be quiet, listen.
Let me just have some water first.
Listen. And what this really
Tyler,
made me,
man. Really?
No, but what this really made me think of, was we'll come on to the C as well, because in my working life, I would say I have the autonomy, I have the C, which we'll come on to, and the relatedness I've managed to create around my working life. I wouldn't say I experience it during my working life, but I've created it in my social environment, my family, my friends, etc., the things I do outside of my working day. And I was watching a video on your Instagram the other day from your business Instagram, FlyHQ 151 Preston Road, get to know.
W1068.
And I think there was like a Zumba or something, some kind of class going on in the space room, and there was like 20 people in there. They were like doing, like, they just looked like they were all having such a good time. And it was like bringing the community together. That's part of the relatedness. That's part of the human desire that we all want and need, and that community vibe. They say people who have that live longer lives.
We're social creatures.
We're social creatures, and I thought about your environment, you know, your premises, and how much it impacts the community around you. Do you know what I mean? I actually sat there and thought, wow, like, it just brings people together. And obviously there's other things that you do that are beneficial for the community and stuff, but I really sat there and actually thought about that for that moment, because that's more than just an exercise class. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more than just teaching someone to Zumba or to box or to train. It's actually bringing the relatedness to the community. And man, so that's the R. So big up you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And take the C.
Competence, So the third psychological need, competence, our need to feel effective at meeting everyday challenges and opportunities. It's demonstrating a skill over time. So, you know, you want to feel competent that you can, within your job role, within your relationship, with your kids, with your family, with your friends, with whatever you do, with your hobbies, you want to feel competent.
Yeah.
And if you're achieving the rainbow arc, you'll have optimal motivation. You'll be motivated. You see what I mean? And it's quite simple, but it's also very deep. I think like this is what it all kind of pins on. in my opinion. And then that's pretty much. She also says like it's got a domino effect. So if one out of the three, so out of the ARC, if the R's missing, it's gonna have a domino effect on the others, and if the A's missing, X, Y, Z. So I think if anyone's gonna take anything from this whole book review, from the power in these pages, I think is the ARC. Rainbow Arc.
The power in these pages is the ARC. Yeah. I like that. We got to start adding that. The power in these pages is the ARC. And competence. Yeah, our need to want to be good at things. You know what it's like when you experience a challenge and it's too hard. Like it's demoralizing, right? If you do something, you can't achieve it.
It really affects your. I remember a funny, like, it's not even a funny story, but when I was planning, I just thought back to planning my wedding. Oh man, and like obviously my missus, like I love her so much. Yeah, she's like she's very good at organising and you know, I had my tasks that I had to do, and in some meetings I didn't feel competent with certain things, and my confidence was like, wow, like you know what I mean. So it really, and I'm quite a confident person. But at that time, and when I was reading, that's what I mean, it makes you think. And I was like, right, okay, in that moment, I wasn't feeling competent. But then when I started achieving things, when I started, doing what I was supposed to do, my share of the work, and I did feel competent. And you feel, it just goes on like that.
So that's a great example. So ticking these three things: autonomy, the human need to have choices, to do things on your own, the relatedness, having that community vibe, or caring for others and being cared for, and competence. And I love that. And there were other stories that actually I liked. There were a couple. Let's touch on the marshmallow study. Because actually, there's some videos of this like on TikTok and Instagram Reel.
I've seen other things like this before. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was that I didn't check on YouTube actually, but I'm sure I've seen this. It's an interesting study, but talk about it.
So what they did was they got children to sit in a room and have a marshmallow there, and said, if you don't eat this marshmallow, you can have two.
Yeah, self-regulation.
If you don't eat this within 15 minutes, you can have two. And what they found was the children that waited longer, that had that delayed gratification, they had greater life successes.
Crazy.
Then they did another test prior to the marshmallow test, and they gave children basic art tools, and they said, wait here while I'm going to go and get some better art supplies. And in one side of the group, they come back and said, here are the good art supplies. You know, you've waited, here are the good art supplies. And on the other side, they come back and said, do you know what? We don't actually have the art supplies. You're still going to have to use those. So the ones who were rewarded for waiting actually had better delayed gratification going on in life. The ones who were let down, it again had the opposite effect.
That's interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I guess because they showed self-regulation, they were motivated for that, and then they got disappointed in that sense.
And actually, just to touch on that, then they put that same group to do the marshmallow challenge. Again, wait for two. The group who were rewarded with the new equipment, they waited longer because they knew they had that positive experience. The group who weren't rewarded who waited and didn't get a reward, they're like, why am I going to wait for the second marshmallow? It might or might not come.
Trust issues.
So they ate the marshmallows quicker, and I found that.
Do you blame them?
No, I don't blame them. But I think what that does, it goes to show like how our environment and how our upbringing can really impact us and our future goals. Say, for example, you promise children something and you don't deliver on those promises, it could impact their other aspects of life.
It definitely will. Again, I mean, I said it jokingly, but trust issues. So I mean, especially if you're somebody that they look up to, they respect, they love, care about, etc., and you're repeatedly letting them down, or you're not, then they're gonna. Because if you're the kind of up to here and they see you here and you're letting them down, they're not going to trust anybody. So you're right. So
that was a interesting study.
You kind of mentioned, that's in the third chapter, The Danger of Drive. Obviously the author has her views on drive. That was one which I was like, logically, it made sense in the way she explained it. I don't know if you remember. I can
dive into it so I can.
So she just talked about like drive, and whether it's a good thing. So she's the title's called The Danger of Drive. So then she's like, so I'll put it here, what she said here. So the danger of drive is that it promotes external motivators, again, talking about optimal and suboptimal, that undermine people's psychological needs for autonomy, relatedness and competence, diminishing the quality and sustainability of their motivation. So she's saying, you might see someone and be like, oh, they're very driven. You might, I'd refer to myself as driven. Maybe you might refer to yourself as driven as well, X, Y, Z. But she kind of looks at a bit of being driven as a negative. And then she gave another example about drive, it dissipates once you're satisfied. So, and I can kind of get it because motivation, so, the example she gave was like, if you're very hungry, you're driven to eat, right? And then once you're full, that drive is over. So in regards to motivation, you might be driven to kind of hit that commission or hit that weight goal or something like that. And then once you hit it, you kind of stop.
Yes.
So that's the context which she's using drive.
Yes.
But I don't know if I think that's the right context to use it. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Well, she actually went through a study as well about the drive, the things, I think it's more the things that drive us, right? Because in that study, it's like you're driving the food, what you mentioned, the food is the thing that's driving you, right?
Yeah.
So,
or the hunger.
It depends what is driving you, I think. So one of the studies that she talked about was that a losing weight challenge, and they had 12 weeks to lose weight, and they I think
the external, they gave them £1,000
a financial incentive
or something like that. Yeah, financial incentive.
So the best losers of weight get a financial incentive, whatever it is, at the end of the 12 weeks, and they achieved their goal. They lost weight, but after that carrot was gone, they put the weight back on again. Even more. So it wasn't part of their ARC. It wasn't part of their natural losing weight or lifestyle. It was just simply a carrot stick.
I get that. And I agree with that. And obviously the studies show. But for me, it's just that I don't know if drive
is the right
word. I don't know. That's more like an external motivator.
Yeah.
That's like, again, here's commission or here's whatever. Here's a whatever you want. Now, I get that, but I don't know because I would say I'm driven, and I would say most people that are successful are driven. And successful, not just financially, in different areas. But it's like, I don't know. I just can't have it negative. It just seems like it's a negative. Like in the context she's using it, I just don't know if she's using it in the right context for me.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, that's just my little.
Yeah, okay. It'll be nice, Susan Fowler, if you ever watch our book review, it'll be nice to have a conversation with you about it. Yeah. Were there any other stories? There were lots of other stories actually.
Not stories. You know what? It was just.
I like the stories. That's what I realised.
Yeah, okay.
I actually like stories.
The stories for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know maybe you got one in your head.
Go on.
The stories were cool, but I didn't actually make much notes about any of the stories. It was me more so like one thing. If I could actually about power, and I think I even posted this on my Instagram, and it was like, and it got a bit of a response, and it's just like about people in positions of power, and how, and I think now obviously because I have like staff and whatnot, and I've become very aware that the way the team are towards me is not necessarily the way the team are towards each other, and then I look at it and I think I think I'm an approachable person and I try my best and everything like that, but then I was like, there is a perceived. I'm in a position of power because I'm the founder of the organisation and whatnot. So it's just like that definitely has an influence, or does it have an impact on the relationships that I have with people on the team?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So it's just like, the type of person that I'd like to, is that she says here, great leaders are great because people trust and respect them, not because they have power.
Yeah.
But she also said a good example, and she was like, if you are the CEO riding in the elevator, by virtue of your title and assumed power, you're not wielding power, but having power changes the dynamic between you and the people you lead. Do you see what I mean? So let's take me out of the situation. Let's say Jeff Bezos is in an Uber with one of his executives.
Yeah.
Him just being there, it's not just do you see what I mean? The power or perceived power is influencing the way that conversation is going to go.
Yeah. Is
influencing the way the jokes that they might make. He might make a joke and it's going to get laughed at.
Yeah.
It might not even be funny. Do you see what I mean? So, I don't know. That was like quite. I liked that chapter a lot. I did like it. They did talk about different types of power. I'm not going to mention it now, but that was an interesting chapter to me.
Yeah. No, I liked it as well because it was highlighting, good leaders aren't those that crack the whip.
No.
Good leaders are those that respect others and, gain respect, earn respect. And yeah.
That's a good, if you read the book, that's chapter 3. There's lots of different types of power she lists out. And so that'll be good to see if you ever get a book, like what.
Yeah, do you want to touch on one or two of them?
I'll do one negative and then I'll do one positive maybe. So you got coercive power. The power to use threats and punishment if people fail to conform to the desired outcome. So that's literally what you just mentioned about cracking the whip. Did you take any?
Yeah, there was, again, me and my stories. There was a story that I'm not sure if I wrote down. It was, let me just quickly look. Maybe it was about health and safety.
Okay.
Or...
While you're looking, do you want me to just...
Yeah, go for it.
One there? So they've got another one here, expert power, which is more of a positive one. So expert power is power that comes through your depth and breadth of knowledge. Expert power relies on the perceptions your employees hold regarding your superior knowledge. So this made me think about football, like football managers. Pep Guardiola came to mind, because they're an expert in their field. People really kind of, obviously you listen to them, you respect them because they're so knowledgeable in their field. So that was like expert power. There's a lot. So I don't know, did you manage to find?
No, I didn't find it. But what the point that I'm trying to make is, someone at work in this company, they didn't follow the rules, and the person was going to punish them for not following the rules. But instead of punishing them, they had a motivational outlook conversation to see what their motivational outlook was and see why they wasn't following the rules. And once they could understand the reasons behind it, they could change the way that they perceive that situation by having a motivational outlook conversation, which I can't remember the exact thing that they did wrong, but they helped to, by having that conversation, it allowed them to realize, oh, actually, okay, what I am doing is wrong. Maybe if I see it this way, then I'll stop doing it. Because punishing them would only make that person resent them. And
no, I think that was in chapter 5 about shifting. The motivational outlook. So Tyler mentioned the motivational outlook conversation. So that's an informal or formal opportunity to facilitate a person's shift to an optimal motivation outlook. So literally like you just said. So that was I vaguely remember the story. But it was good. It was good. I think I like the way that she did that. Like she'll kind of make a point and then tell a story that relates to that point.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that she talked about in the outlook conversation, which touched on the 5 whys, which we've got that from another book. I can't remember what book that we got from, but it's nice to see like how different books take bits from, maybe they got it from her, who knows, but simply asking why 5 times. Okay, you did this, why? Okay, this XYZ happened. Okay, why do you feel like that? And just diving in deeper 5 times, because what you're not trying to do, you're not trying to problem solve, you're not trying to impose your values, and you're not expecting them to shift. You're just hoping and questioning them thoughts to hopefully guide them into, understanding a more positive outlook. So,
and then that was what does not work. Those literally 3 things.
What doesn't work.
And then she speaks about what does work. So more or less what you just said. But what this chapter, this outlook conversation, it made me think about other areas of life.
Yeah.
And maybe you as well.
Yeah.
Because and I was thinking, especially the first one, like, do not problem solve. Did you do that?
Yeah, I think as guys we like to problem solve. Or, I don't know if it's as guys or business owners or whatever, but we actually literally kind of had a conversation before this book review about being problem solvers.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. More money, more problems. Yeah, we did. No, but what I liked about this, I don't know, it was like, if you've ever been counselling or if you've ever been to therapy or anything like that, you will notice that the therapist or the counsellor doesn't actually say much. They listen very well. they don't give any suggestions. I mean, they don't give any solutions, really. They give suggestions. So that one to me was like, rare. Do not problem solve. I was like, okay. And then, you think about, especially as like in a position of power, I work with a lot of young people, X, Y, Z, all this kind of stuff. So people kind of do come to me sometimes with problems. And then I've learned over the time, and I'm still working on it. Definitely still working on it. But it's like, people don't actually want you to problem solve. We spoke about this before.
Yeah.
They don't want you to problem solve. They just want you to listen. They want to get there themselves. Because even if you give them the solution when they're not ready for it, it's just going to go over because they've still got a lot of stuff to get off their chest. So
that comes back to autonomy. They want to get them there, so they want to get there themselves. But anyway,
facts, nice facts. So these outlook conversations, obviously this is about motivation, but the outlook conversations, I think like this we'll get to the points in a moment as what we give the book, but this chapter or this part of the book really made, and again, don't impose your values, do not expect your shift, and even if you know you're right, if someone's not ready to take on that advice at that time, you're not doing them any favors. You're not actually helping them. You're actually making, because they're gonna feel that they haven't been heard. Yeah. They're gonna feel that they've been spoken down to. They're gonna feel you're not a good listener, and especially if they've come to you to open up about something. So that outlook conversation was like, that was like, don't problem solve. I was like, cool. And then,
touch on what does work in an outlook conversation.
Yeah, well, you said it. So what does work? Do not problem solve, do not impose your values, and do not expect a shift.
Yeah.
That's what does not work. Sorry, did I say what does work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what does
talk about what does work.
What does work? Excuse me. One, prepare. So again, if you're the boss and you're going to sit down, you're going to have a meeting with one of your team. You're going to prepare for that meeting. The second one is trust the process. So you have to trust that what you're going to do is going to have a positive outcome. You're hoping, you're trusting the process. And then the third one is reflect and close with them. Again, because with reflection, the way I took it, when I have these conversations, I try and repeat back to them what they've said so they know they've been heard, and to make sure if there's any, just to make sure that, I'm getting it. So if I've missed something, all right, okay, now I heard, and then I just repeat it back to them to reflect and then close. And then that's what they say. So prepare, trust the process, and reflect and close.
Do you know what's interesting? As you said that reminded me of 12 Rules for Life, because Jordan Peterson talks about in his book 12 Rules for Life about how to overcome conflicts and arguments, you want to repeat back to the person what they've said to make sure that you've understood it correctly, vice versa. So anyway, it's good to know that these systems are used. I mean, they're used all across. So cool. In fact, I wrote that down as well. Was there anything else specifically that you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean, I like the fact that obviously, she definitely challenges. There was something actually that I thought that I wanted to speak to you about this, definitely. So obviously regarding SMART goals.
Yes.
And, the SMART, correct, remind me, so you've got specific, measurable is the M. So S is, again, another acronym.
Yeah.
S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for realistic.
Or relevant.
Relevant
or realistic, but relevant.
That was it, not relevant. And then T is for time bound, right? So obviously, I definitely use SMART goals. I know you're a big advocate I started using them more actually, as because of you. But then in the chapter, the fifth chapter is, or the fourth chapter. Sorry, no, it's the fifth chapter, and it's called rethinking beliefs that erode workplace motivation. So that was chapter 5 or chapter 6 even. So she wants to remove the M, change the M from measurable to motivating. So, and I was thinking, I wonder what Tyler thinks about this.
Yeah. Honestly, with regards to the book, towards the end of the book, which we'll come on to in our star and difficult reading, it was losing me a little bit.
And that was the cherry on the cake.
Yeah. It was losing me a little bit. I don't know if it was, but what do I think about it?
That specific point.
Using M for motivation, I think for me, the measurable, it works. However, it could be both. I think adding like 2 M's, measurable and motivating.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because ideally, when you do have goals, you want to be able to measure them and measure your progress and see the progress you're making. If you just eradicate that, then you're not seeing the progress as you go along.
Yeah, that's true, because you can't measure it against anything.
Yeah. So yes, I agree that motivating and motivation should be in there, shifting to the optimal motivation, but not instead of. Instead of.
I think that chapter, I think she was being intentionally kind of going against, the common traits and what people believe. These beliefs that, are the only thing that really matters is results. She talks about why we need to redefine that.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting chapter because again it challenged our thoughts and it gets you to think. It gets you to think about. It gets you to think a bit more. Isn't it?
Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to touch on was how how her husband helped her daughter to feel ARC.
Yeah.
And how she learned a valuable lesson and she self-reflected on the situation, which I love hearing that in the book because she was initially a bit annoyed by the situation, which I'll explain in a minute. But then she self-reflected and thought, wow, what just happened there was amazing. And essentially her daughter Alexa won a volleyball game, and she wanted to, as soon as the game finished, she wanted to go and like hug her and celebrate and say like, oh, you made me so proud, like, and put everything on her, like explain why she was proud, explain why she was joyful. But the dad got to her first and said, put it on the daughter and said, I've got it written down. He asked, wow, like, how did you feel about your serve tonight? So he asked the daughter, how did you feel about your serve tonight? And she said, oh yeah, like, yeah, I thought it was great. Like, he made that moment, that celebratory moment, all about the daughter.
Yeah.
The daughter was allowed to express herself and say, yeah, like, the team was great, blah, 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 blah. Rather than him going and saying, wow, like, that was a great serve, it made me so proud.
I'm
like,
so proud of you.
Yeah,
So
which is
proud of
still
you.
nice to hear.
Yeah.
But the initial...
It has its place.
It has its place, right? So doing that after, letting her enjoy her moment, letting her celebrate and letting her express like how amazing she feels. Then later on, coming back.
Yeah.
And Susan in the book, reflected on that. And I thought that was just a nice moment. And that was a nice teaching for me. Because even when we see other people achieve things, we human nature, we want to express like how it makes us feel, but it's about them, right?
Yeah, man.
So,
No, that was good. That story really brought that to life.
Yeah.
Like for me, because I remember that story and I was like, that really kind of made it like, you start to reflect on your own.
Yeah.
And think, oh, okay, have I done that? You mostly have, because it's human nature. It's whatever. So it's that was good. And that's what I mean. Again, managing to get the message through a story, and again, it's made it very personal. She's talking about her own personal interaction. One thing with motivation that because I think, and this is when I read the book, when I started off, I was like, because this made me realise, which I kind of always already knew, but like you go through. So sometimes I've done courses in the past, right? So I'll go and I'll see a speaker or whatever, and I'll come out there and once she's spoken to you, I'll be like, yeah, man, I'm on 10, like I'm ready, I'm fully pumped up, like I'm pumped up to go. And at that same time, I feel happy and I feel great, and I feel at the same time I'm like, oh man, I wish I could feel like this forever.
Yeah.
Because I know, and it's funny, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday about this, and I was like, when you have that gas, I think I wish I could bottle it and just when I need it, just drink it and just charge me up and So that, I think I used to think of that as like, that's the only time I'm motivated. But then over time, and obviously this book has just kind of just crystallized that now, you're always motivated. But I guess you just have levels and frequencies. And I think you can't really live. Maybe some people do. Some people do. Maybe I can't. I don't know. Do you think it's sustainable to be like on 10?
No, I don't think it's sustainable. No, it's.
I'm trying to think of examples of people that are.
No, I don't think there's anyone. Maybe they can put off the perception that they are, but yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's always on 10. Maybe in discipline.
Okay.
But not in motivation. But yeah, that's I guess that's a whole
that's just
nother
I
conversation.
know.
Right. Star rating. No, sorry. Difficulty rating. I can't remember who's first, but
it's a new beginning now.
Yeah, it's a new beginning. Yeah. You go. You go.
Okay.
Do you know, actually, I think when it's my book, it's me. When it's your book, it's you.
Oh, let's just do that then. That's easier. Yeah, that's just easy to think of.
So difficulty rating, for me, it wasn't too difficult. It had maybe, it wasn't easy. had some language in it. I want to go between a 2 and a 2.5. I'm going to go 2.5. Yeah, it wasn't a super easy read because it's, designed, I think, for coaches and leaders and...
Well, you just answered. I was going to ask you a question, but...
2.5 is...
Okay.
Out of 5.
Cool. Before I give my answer, you kind of just answered it, but I want to ask you anyway. Who would you say this book is for?
Yeah, we didn't touch on that.
I know.
I think it's for anyone who manages people, anyone who, leads people, but also I actually think parents. I think parents can take a lot from this book because you're essentially managing children, right?
Yeah.
So anyone who has to manage people, I to be honest, I think anyone really, any adult could take gems from this book. But I think the ideal person is someone who manages people. Yeah, someone who manages people.
I think it's aimed at, I agree with you. I think it's aimed at that. And even parents definitely as well. But I think if you're the kind of person that wants to understand yourself better, you can also, this book is for you as well, because you'll understand your own psychology.
Yeah,
Just what I mean, through the stories that she told and through the ARC and everything we've gone through. So I definitely think, because I was really upset, who's this book for? She speaks to executives and leaders and whatnot, so I guess it's directly aimed at them. However, it's also for someone that wants a deeper understanding of psychology, which is going to benefit them anyway.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? But anyway, I digress. 2.5.
As well?
Yeah, 2.5.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Star rating. What would we give this out of 5? So actually, there were some parts of this that I really loved. There were some parts, and then, like I said, towards the end, maybe there were moments where maybe I didn't love it so much, but I took a lot of value from it. And I was been flirting with my numbers, and I'm gonna go with a 3.75.
Jeez, Tyler.
A 3.75.
You know, I'm laughing, because when I started doing point this,
I
you
know.
was like, oh, you're being difficult.
I know. Do you know what it was? Because with the editing, it was more difficult. But now, anyway, 3.75 out of 5. It's a good book. Yeah, it's a good book. Leave it at that.
Okay, for me, this book is a solid 4, bro. It could even be a 4.5, but I'm sticking with, I could be like you and be like 4.25. You know? In fact, 4.25. 4.25. Yeah, this book's solid, man. I like it. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. And it only dawned on me towards the end of wow, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't realise how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It kind of dawned on me, 4.25.
Okay.
Rude boy.
Okay, wicked. Well, next month we have this book, The Diary of a CEO, Mr. Fly's book. We'll talk about why we picked it, or why Chris picked it next month. Yeah. At the beginning, we didn't even do Untie Your Fly.
No, we did.
Did we?
Yeah.
Well, I think I introduced you. I don't think.
No, I said this because I spilled my water. I remember.
Okay.
I remember.
But subscribe. And once again, I'm looking at the wrong place. Subscribe. And big up to North Kensington Library for having us. You know, we really appreciate using the space. And hopefully we can encourage many more people to read. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, North Ken Library, just if you're from North Kensington, Ladbroke Grove area, it's just literally opposite Barclays Bank. I think Tyler's going to put the full address in it, but it's literally by Ladbroke Grove Station. So come down. I used to come here, when I was in school, primary school, I used to come here, me and my friends, and was revising for SATs and GCSEs all through my life. So I'm still a grown man, I'm still coming here. So thank you so much to the staff. Thanks to Mina, thanks to everyone. So I really appreciate it, man.
Big up. Peace and love.